I've come very far in my life to
and I wasn't
like that.
yelling at you.
This isn't like Staten Island.
Don't call me Staten Island, okay? I'm a born and raised city person, so please, like, let's not
city person.
Yeah, like, please.
She called Erin Staten Island.
Right, because Staten Island is like the garbage district.
Later, she called Cy Rikers Island.
What is that? This is New York. This is Manhattan. It's not Rikers Island.
So she's upping her islands, I think, as far as Cy's behavior.
It's so hard to escalate island. Poo-poo, you're poo-poo island.
Hello and welcome to the Bravo Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter, joined today by Dylan Ferguson, Fergie Ferg, and we're going to do a bit of a panel style where we've also brought in Sandra Kloak and Tim Gray. We've got two great episodes to dive into. We're going to talk about the latest episodes of Real Housewives of New York and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Let's get right into it. Let's start in New York. Dylan, do you want to give us a summary of New York?
I'd love to.
It's like it's in New York State. There's a few buildings. There's founded in 1900.
Yeah, New York City is the capital city. Actually, it is even the capital city. Wikipedia.
Oh my God, you get crushed at the next trivia night.
I guess we get a bit of Jenna and Cy carrying over their conflict from the previous episode, having a bit of an outdoor Arnold Palmer summit, which is pretty cool, and which is followed by Erin and Brynn also kind of try to hash out their differences in Brynn's apartment, and they all end up, or some of them end up in a helicopter on the way to the Hamptons. Other of them are driving on the way to the Hamptons. Also Erin and Abe finally reveal what's been tearing them apart. And I guess this all kind of feels like a lead up to whatever's going to happen when they finally get to the Hamptons by plane, train, or automobile.
Tim, do you have any questions that were left on your mind after watching this?
I had quite a few questions, honestly, because I am just getting into becoming a Bravo insider. So a lot of these characters are very new to me, but the biggest question I probably had out of that episode was, how do they get such clean audio in an elevator? I mean, helicopter.
Helicopter?
Helicopter.
That's true.
How do they have like a whole... if you've never done any audio engineering, you know that it's hard on a good day. But how are they inside a helicopter? And I can hear clean conversations, and even the characters are like, "Can we have this conversation after we're out of the helicopter?" I can't hear anything.
Yeah,
sounded good to me.
Yeah. I like that as you were saying that, you're like peeking like crazy. Like
that's because Tim is, and not many people realize this, in a helicopter right now. He is private helicopter playing Real Housewives in the background, soaring over the skies.
The helicopter is the only place where the DVDs still work, so that's why I gotta get caught up on all the
Hey,
let's talk about the artistic presentation of this. Dylan, what did you identify here?
I do like the whole scene leading up to the helicopter because just like aesthetically, I really like the shots of Jessel fighting for her life on the tarmac with like again the worst fashion choice possible for the moment on like a cloudy, rainy, windy day, going up to a helicopter wearing some billowing outfit that's just trailing in the mud and just wrapping around her. Brynn consistently mean is like, that's Jessel in a nutshell. And she's kind of right. Like Jessel is so like Charlie Brown coded sometimes. She's just so like very good grief core. She's does have that kind of like private rain cloud thing, which is really funny. And that struggle of her to like wear this outfit and get into the helicopter followed by her making like really hilarious faces that make her look like Steven Tyler when she's getting like nauseous in the air. It was just really funny. It was the whole lead up to that was very good to me. I think aesthetically that was like the scene that charmed me the most.
Yeah. Sandy, how about you?
I was noticing a theme in this episode with the content of respectability and coming back to that in several different ways, especially with how Brynn was choosing her strategies in her conversations. So Brynn was really mad at Erin for being involved in that radio conversation that implied that she was a sugar baby or something like that. Though Erin didn't say that outright, she kind of laughed along with them. So she's so hurt by that. That's the core of this conflict. But then Brynn seems to be, I mean, I guess I understand like that's a really sore point, and she's then kind of weaponizing that against others. So she called Erin Staten Island, as in like low. What was the context there? Does anyone remember?
Implying that she was like unsophisticated. I think. Like that she didn't have the sophistication of, being from Manhattan.
Right. Because Staten Island is like the garbage district.
Later, she called Cy Rikers Island, like so she's upping her islands. I think as far as Cy's behavior.
It's so hard to escalate islands.
But she did it.
Poo-poo, your poo-poo island.
Is there a worse island? There's a garbage island somewhere. Yeah. She'll find it.
I love that idea of like weaponizing geography.
Yes. We always come back to geography.
Well, truly in New York, it is such like a big thing. Like it impacts the like their social, the way that people look at each other. Like the address is so important. We saw on the premiere of New York when Erin and Abe are talking about potentially moving, and that the idea of like being in a townhouse is like something that is held in such high regard. It seems like it's such an important part of the kind of the social atmosphere within New York that it's unsurprising that we see it kind of used in this way to make like, kind of passive aggressive digs or just plain aggressive digs by making the comparison or trying to place someone in a specific geography and characterizing them based on that. Like we also see that was at the core of that beef between Erin and Jessel last season, or talking about Tribeca and whether it's up and coming or not. Geography is just like such an important thing here, and I think that that's not something that we see to the same, like we don't see anything to that extent on any of the other franchise. So I really love that. That's a great pickup, Sandy. Tim, how about you? Anything stand out to you in terms of the presentation here?
Yeah, well, I thought that the wig purchasing scene, followed by I think Erin and who was she fighting with there? What's her name? Jenna or no? Brynn.
Brynn.
They had like a conversation on the couch there, and I thought it was quite interesting. Like I could see this kind of a moment being one of the reasons why I can really sink my teeth into this show, because it felt really genuine. Like it felt really like they still had to hit their points about why they're fighting and why they're mad and why there's conflict and why they, and they needed to both stand in their own character, but they were also they were there for each other. Like, and they had like a moment of crying, and it didn't feel exploitative of her mother's battle with cancer. It's just interesting how much that changed the dynamic, but that they still stayed with what they needed to discuss, what they needed to push forward, what they needed to. And you know what? Watching these shows, do you think that like these Real Housewives characters, they're like the new royal family of like a Western post-capitalist society, or like? I just feel I feel almost bad for these people because they do expose so much of their life and stuff like that, and they play it in a certain way. I feel like they should be just given like they should be taken care of financially for the rest of their lives after just becoming so much woven into the culture, just like sports is. You know, our tax money goes to building stadiums. Our tax money should go to making sure that these people stay clothed and fed.
Yeah. In the case of New York, they should get a free pass. They got an open tab at the Regency covered by taxpayers. We've got.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, anyways, that wig scene was very nice. I thought that was handled well, displayed well, rolled out well.
I like that they start off with that too. It does feel like it's kind of setting the stage for this idea of like, a wig is like, it's both like a fakery, but also it can be like a kind of empowerment thing, and that seems to be what they're highlighting here. It's like, I'm choosing to Erin's like, I'm choosing to change my hair because you have no choice but to change your hair, Mom. So like, I'm gonna like assume this thing for you, and that's like something we see all the time. Is this this idea of being like, I'm going to like. Pretend I'm a little different than what I am, not as like a way of being ashamed of something, but as a way of like displaying my confidence for somebody else. And we have
support.
We have support. That kind of rhymes with some other things in this episode, like maybe Erin's husband Abe being like, well, I just felt like I had to like kind of fake it till I make it a bit and pretend that I could provide the lifestyle that I thought Erin needed. Or even one of my favorite lines when Jenna is taking her kids to the rock climbing, and she shows up and she's like, I was gonna say that we want to climb, but that would be putting it too strongly, so I'm gonna say we will climb. And the way that she's like forcing herself to do this thing and acting like she's like more confident than she is because she thinks that's what her kid needs. And she doesn't actually want to do that, but she's going to force herself to do it anyway. She will climb whether she wants to or not. Those things kind of rhyme a little bit to me. So I just I feel like starting off with the wig and putting that like first thing of the episode is kind of like it sets the stage for how we're going to look at everything else afterwards. The first scenes are always so important. I feel like you've always got to like start thinking about what's happened in the first scene for the rest of the episode, because it was placed there at the head for a reason.
Yeah, totally. Let's get a quote. Tim, was there a quote that stood out to you here?
Yes, there is. You're gonna lose my camera for a quick second. Okay, don't freak out.
Oh my God, he's invisible.
Well, yeah, there was like one line. It was just like a cutback, and it's a scene I have no context for. I just thought it was funny, or it was like this is just like the cheese, and then cuts to like a black and white thing. It's like the cheese. And then
that's really funny, because the cheese last season was like a conflict that. Like, we got introduced to all these people as they were fighting about cheese. Like, cheese was something that happened prior to the cameras rolling, or I guess there's kind of speculation that this was a reference to something that happened with a cast member who didn't make the final cut of the cast and was not on the show. So yeah, but that's really funny that we got a call back to that.
Speaking of things that got cut and didn't make it in the show, did anybody else find it crazy that they're apparently all boxing and we never got any clips of it in the show? Right, we get like a tiny little image of them, like all wearing boxing gloves, or a lot of them. I can't remember who, but several of them were together wearing boxing gloves and apparently boxing, and we'd like never actually see that happen really, other than like the tiniest clip. Why would they? Why would they not use that?
That's true.
Maybe something happened. Oh, I have a question for people who are familiar with the Real Housewives. That's why one of the characters, you only see them profile for the rest of the season. Evander Holyfield's in the back. So like New York City, it's a dangerous place. Has anybody ever been killed on this show on screen?
No. Okay, this is funny. There's
mugged or,
actually
like-
been no housewives who have died. Like
On screen?
Ever.
since well, not
Or all
yeah,
mortal.
not on since like Real Housewives of Orange County premiered on all the Bravo shows. No one that has been a housewife has died. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That's like
That is
been
the secret
almost
to immortality is to
almost
sign up
20
for one
years.
of these shows. Yeah.
Wow.
hundreds of women who have been housewives and not one death. That's
Wow.
you know, deal
We
with
need
the
to-
devil. That's what I'm saying.
They went down to Georgia and had like a RuPaul style competition with the devil. make an outfit and do a catwalk.
Doing catwalks with the devil. Yeah. Doing lip sync battles with the devil.
Lip sync battles with the devil.
Okay, let's talk strategy. Sandy, was there anything that stood out to you strategy wise on this episode?
I mean, obviously the Brynn stuff we brought up, the threatening text that she sends off camera, like to her friends, to this group, were pretty fascinating to hear about and chilling. She's like, I'm like carbon monoxide or whatever. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So she's a pretty interesting person. Interesting they chose to bring that up now. I don't know. I love to hear other people's thoughts on that and what Brynn is doing. But super interesting.
Yeah, I feel like Brynn is just being messy because that's what the show needs, to be honest. Like, I think she's, just being messy. She might just be a messy person in general, and it works out great for the show. I don't know. I can't really see a long game for what she's doing here. It does feel like she is doing this based on emotion. Like, I think when we hear the like kind of discussion about Brynn wanting to be like best friends with everyone and not like have everyone be friends with each other, that doesn't seem like something that it's like it's not coming from a place of like strategizing how to manipulate the social structure for the sake of the show to like find a place on top. It feels like it's coming from like an emotional need to be like the closest to people and being like jealous of other people's close relationships. So I don't think that it's necessarily a strategic thing. I think it is like a purely emotional thing, and that is pretty consistent from what we see from Brynn. Like, she's a bit of an open book surrounding the trauma that she has in her childhood, and how she seeks the approval of other people, and how that like courses through her personality. Like, we saw a great scene last season with Brynn where she's talking about how she always felt like if she could be cute and funny and flirty, that it would make her feel like safe. Like, that's how she felt like safe and secure with people, and that really informs her personality. I feel like this is just another instance of her like wanting to form like personal connections, being jealous of like other people's connections, or insecure about other people's connections, and it just kind of manifesting through her behavior.
Yeah, I think she is a bit of
curious.
A bit of an open book with no pictures. And but I think she's also just so petty, really, which is I kind of find it hilarious how like petty and childish she is. Like when Erin comes to see her and she's like, "This bitch deserves tap," and just puts out a glass of tap water, makes sure the puppy isn't there so she cannot see the puppy. And then when Erin opens the door, she's like slouched in the corner of her couch, just like a pouty teenager, like intentionally looking at her phone, being like, "Hey, you can come in, I guess. There's water over there." Like, just like how like childish and petty she is in her reactions is kind of really really funny to me. But I think you're right. Like she doesn't hide the fact that comes from kind of a place of like long-standing insecurity. I imagine that would be super annoying if that was like my close friend who acted like that. But it does make for really funny TV.
Yeah, and
Message
You mean I don't
received.
act like that?
I would give her credit though that she totally
Every time
was
I go to
like
Craig's place.
she was honest about it. She's like, I hid the dog and gave you tack because I was mad at you, and I really appreciate that. She's petty and passive aggressive, but then honest about it. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. This is apropos of nothing, but my cooch is numb.
Yeah.
Do you remember that from the show? When Jessel's in the helicopter. It's like, I gotta pee. I'm hungry. And then just before the camera cuts, my cooch is numb.
I thought you were just giving us an update on you, Tim.
Great honesty from this show. Oh, I just got a text update from my cooch. It's not.
Stop it. Get some help.
My piece of strategy also relates to Brynn. I think the battle that she does seem like she's actively choosing, that's not based purely on emotion, is this fight that she seems like she's picking against Rebecca regarding the Scientology thing. And I think that this is something that needs to happen. It's obviously a conversation that needs. Oh, okay, there goes one camera. It's obviously a conversation that needs to happen on this show. The headlines are coming out in real time as we're watching this show.
Is that your cooch?
The cooch cam.
You knocked over your cooch cam. Sorry, you were making a beautiful point, and I.
But no, this is something that needs to happen. This conversation around Scientology needs to happen, and like Brynn is the first person to like take the ball and run with it. So I appreciate that this is happening. I think this is a really safe fight for her because, you know, this is someone that's coming into the cast that doesn't have a lot of allies. They're not like deeply ingrained. It's not a full-time cast member that, you know, the scandal is breaking. So the fact that someone is going to need to jump on this, and Brynn is the one to do it. So I just appreciate that she's doing it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Did any of you guys have any other strategic pieces that you want to discuss here?
Can we just keep talking about the Scientology thing for a minute? Because I thought actually when they do like a little clip of each cast member reacting to Scientology in general, I actually thought the most head-scratching answer was Jenna's, where she's like, well, the thing is, all religions will have like an extremist faction, and you can't judge a religion based on an extremist faction, which is the right answer if you're talking about like an actual religion, but like doesn't seem to be the right answer when you're talking about Scientology. Like it's like what are the like moderate traditional Scientologists? Like, where is the mountain village where people practice ancestral Scientology, and it's just a little Nona like polishing her John Travolta votive candles. Like there isn't like a baseline moderate Scientology that doesn't exist. Like it's a 20th century cult. It's like I just feel like that answer doesn't check out.
Also, it's not like Scientologists are like building soup kitchens or feeding the poor or housing. You know, it's like, what good do they serve? What are they? Yeah, that was a very funny little slow roll at the end. And then when they asked Jenna if she would ever consider it.
Yeah, I like how they kind of put the little stinger at the end. Jenna's like, I'm going to be like level-headed about this. And the producer's like, yeah, but would you be a Scientologist? And she's like, fuck off, come on.
Yeah. And then somebody was about to say a story about John Travolta, and then they're like, I can't.
Yeah, Erin does the most annoying thing in the world where she's like, I've got a great story about John Travolta that I'm not allowed to say.
He was in a movie.
I found Jenna's reaction like the most interesting as well, because it actually seemed like it was like she had the most fear of Scientology. Like it felt like she was afraid of like getting on the wrong side of Scientology. And then when she was like, you know, the producers are like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Would you be a Scientologist? And, you know, you kind of see her be like, obviously I wouldn't. But it does seem like she didn't want to say anything that is going to anger the Scientologist, because she's got the most, you know, the most to lose, and maybe also the most like information about Scientology. Like she's the most read into the behavior. But that's just like what my gut said watching her confessional.
That could be the Thetan stalking.
Yeah, that's her Thetans.
But that is intense, and that's like another level of strategy that exists now, even with the introduction of Scientology and show business.
Yeah. I really liked how Brynn handled this, though. I really liked that she was like, well, no comment isn't going to work for us. Like, I'm a publicist. I understand that no comment is not an answer that we can give people. I liked how she framed it as being like, what do you want us to say? Like, not necessarily we're going to say this, but what would you like our talking point to be? It's not like she's like putting her over the coals about Scientology. She's not confronting her directly about her religion. She just wants to know what answers she should be giving if Rebecca has her way and is framing things that way. I just thought it was a really like smart way to go about attacking this.
Oh shit.
Okay, let's get into our highlights. Dylan, what are your highlights?
I like Jenna and Sai together a lot. This kind of carries over from the previous episodes. They're both two people on this show that I really appreciate a lot. I like how honest they can be with each other, in a sense, how they can be kind of like aggressive with each other, and they both sort of appreciate it rather than getting like
the killer.
Completely set off by it. I didn't hear that one, actually, but
that's okay.
I'll keep on rolling. I appreciated that scene too. Like, I like that it's outdoors and like a mural and with like trees and stuff. It was like an aesthetically pleasing scene. Sai's always got good outfits. I think she has a she has a bit of a Fran Lebowitz look later on when she's looking for jewelry, which I thought was cool. That was a good moment, and I think contrasting that to like Brynn and Erin, it feels like a lot like healthier between Sai and Jenna in a way. Like after Brynn and Erin like make up, Brynn says like, "Oh, we're so toxic," but she's kind of like saying that because like, oh, it's like we were kind of like mean to each other, then we like each other more. And I feel like what's more toxic about that isn't the fact that they're kind of mean to each other. It's more the fact that they immediately bury it with the whole like, but you know, I love you so much, and it's just because I love you so much, and that's just like a way of like kind of smothering the conversation and not continuing it. Whereas I feel like with Sai and Jenna, they have that kind of like directness and honesty and maturity where they could like kind of hash it out, and Jenna can actually say like, this is what I think you need to do, and this is the kind of vulnerability I think you need to show, and this is, in my opinion, where this is coming from, and they can actually kind of follow through those like lines and actually interrogate each other a bit and kind of reach a sort of conclusion with their conversation. Like it actually kind of goes somewhere. It doesn't just get shut down. So I just like that scene. I thought that was like a nice conversation to have. and Jenna's kind of honesty, and that also is just something that I continue to just really appreciate on this show. I just love the way Jenna tries to like dig into people's motives and conversations too, and I love the way that Sai is both emotional and direct, and they just work really well together. I want to see a lot more of Jenna and Sai together.
Yeah, totally. I really love that scene as well. Like you said, just visually, it was great. I love how, like you said, we had the mural in the background providing all this color. We had this awesome outdoor light refracting off of everything. It was like everything was blooming. Just really great scene to watch. It was like surrounded in warmth and life in the city. We've got the two personalities that are maybe the most magnetic right now, between like Sai on her journey that we talked about on the last episode being like really compelling, and Jenna, who's always been really compelling to watch, and seeing them like overcome this conflict that is making them grow closer together. It was a great scene to watch.
We have Jenna with
Sandy,
Arnold Palmer and an iced latte at the same time.
Yeah. With real milk, okay? None of that nut
Something
shit.
that comes from an animal that walks the earth, please.
Sandy, how about you? What are your highlights?
I really am enjoying Erin this season. I'm not sure. I guess it's interesting to watch her decide what to share with the show. There was that thing last episode where he mentioned mushrooms and she freaked out, and I'm like, you're really drawing attention to it. And now she's kind of bringing up, as we talked about, this Bitcoin thing. And I found that really interesting, learning about these financial secrets they had. And I'm just liking what she's bringing. In addition, her little quote or from the dinner with Abe about her lifestyle before him, I never had to sleep with anyone. They just flew me around. I'd love to learn more about that. And it ties into that respectability theme of the episode too. So I like that.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting that you bring up Erin's, like, what she's motivated to show the camera and what she's like embarrassed of. And the fact that she is more embarrassed about, making references to mushrooms, consuming mushrooms, and less embarrassed about like holding Bitcoin is funny to me. Like, I think she needs to touch grass there a little bit.
But the thing is, I knew that whatever their like relationship scandal was, it was going to be something disappointingly dorky and lame.
Yeah.
Like I knew it was not going to be like Abe, like I've been fucking other women. Like it was going to be something stupid. My money was on it going to be him being like, I've been seeing fish instead of the Grateful Dead behind your back. But when it came out that it was like I sold the Bitcoin without telling you, I was like, there it is. Yeah, of course it's going to be something that's fucking dumb like that.
And how dare he? 2 years before her mom was diagnosed with cancer, like he should have known.
And I checked, and if he would have sold it now, 5 years later, it would be worth more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that works.
It is a really like weird thing for him to like, if they're like open with each other about finances, and then for him to like sell off a huge asset without telling her, that is like pretty sketchy. And for him to hide huge debts, I don't know, that it for sure. Immediately I was like, this guy's got a gambling problem. Like that's what I thought immediately. But I could be wrong about that. But crypto is high risk, and people that like risk like gambling. So
hey, yes, sir. Hey, I don't know. Life's a gamble.
Okay, Tim, what were your highlights here?
My highlights here, I'm happy that you asked, was I really did love that conversation between Jenna, and her and her teenage son when they were doing the wall climbing, and she was telling him about, they were talking about going off to college or whatever, and her in a like a loving way, say like, go as far as you can, like go somewhere else, go. And then that, she's reminiscing about her apartment where she's like, it was a 6x8 apartment. I could go like this and touch the walls. Like, how tall is that lady? Is she that?
She's very
she
tall.
Yeah, she's pretty tall. Yeah,
over 6 feet wingspan. I mean, that's crazy.
Not as much as Ubah, but still a silver medalist on the Height Olympics of that show.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that moment. I thought it was really touching, and the Bitcoin thing made me laugh out loud. I had to like go back, like, what? Wait, what? And the Scientology thing in the end, and then obviously it's going back to my point that I made earlier. My highlight is going to be the audio engineering in that helicopter episode.
Yeah.
The helicopter scene. Truly an incredible feat.
Yeah. I think my highlight the scene that we haven't talked about that stood out to me is the scene that we got with Racquel and her family when they're like making food or looking for a family recipe in order to make eco-friendly or whatever the assignment was. But I just loved this scene where we have we've got a family that has like is not a traditional family that we see portrayed like super frequently in media, where they are taking something that is, they're looking for something traditional in order to like modify it and bring it into a more like modern and like sustainable, healthy like iteration of it. I just liked that they were going through this exercise, and people have just such a strong relationship with food. It's so like caught up in their own like personal traditions or cultural traditions, and I just liked this scene that we got where we had them going through this process and trying to update a tradition the same way that we're updating the type of families that we're showing on these franchises. I appreciate that.
That is the nice thing about the fluidity of this type of programming. It can change with the times. It can define the times.
Wow, nice and smug there. Okay, let's get into our stars. Sandy, we'll start with you. Who are your stars from this?
Brynn gets a star for her messiness. Erin gets a star for her honesty and awkwardness with which she does that. And the sad dog in the scene that you just talked about, Craig, gets the 3rd star.
That sad dog was eating some nice looking steak, though. I think that sad pampered dog has it pretty good. He is too fat, though.
Dylan, how about you?
First star, Jenna Lyons. That happened a lot last season. I think it's going to happen a lot this season. I just really like watching her. I really like hearing what she's going to say. I just think she's just great TV. I'll give a 2nd star to Sai again, because Sai also, I've been loving what she's bringing from the first episode of this season. Like the outfits, like the intensity, just like her presence. And I might as well give a 3rd star to Brynn too, because her pouty pettiness was also very fun to watch.
Tim, how about you?
Well, my 1st star obviously has to go to the sound engineers on that helicopter scene. My 2nd star I have to give to Sai, because honestly, like you guys were saying, that one scene between Sai and Jenna when they're outside, and it's so beautiful, it's so well shot, and those two characters are probably the ones that need the least amount of background pumping and production work to elevate and escalate what they're going to talk about and how they're going to play it out on the cameras. But that just took everything to the next level. And the cutback scenes to see Sai blowing up at a dinner conversation, those were some epic blow-ups. That she's so articulate and harsh and says her point out really good. Those cutbacks alone are like, okay, now I'm going to go back and watch every episode. And then the third star, the third star definitely goes to whoever was helping the audio engineers in that helicopter scene. You can't do this stuff alone, folks. You can't do this stuff alone.
Takes a village.
Takes a village.
I don't think any of us have mentioned my number one star, which is Erin. I think that we got a lot out of her here. I think that, we're seeing her try to figure out how to like navigate things for the first time. It feels like while we're watching her, like it feels like, I don't know. There's something like really unsure about the way she is going about this. It feels like once the camera is on her and observing her, she does not know how to behave, like especially on this discussion that we get with her and Abe. It feels like she's kind of like feeling that out, and she's constantly adjusting what she thinks is the image that she wants to project and what she isn't willing to project. There's a certain like uncertainty with how she navigates things with Brynn. She just feels like kind of not sure-footed, but we got like a lot of meandering interactions from her, and I just found something about that was really interesting for me to watch. Number 2 is going to be Brynn, and number 3, I think Jenna is going to take my number 3. I'm excited for next episode though. I think I feel like we're gonna get some explosives, and we're going to get a lot more context to see what is truly driving these conflicts.
Yeah, it's a good point about Erin, because I just wanted to say that, like, I've often said that I find Erin the most boring in this cast, but like Sandy said, I thought that when you look at her from the lens of like her trying to decide what to reveal and what not to reveal, it becomes very interesting. And I think both you guys, Sandy and Craig, both kind of underscored that point, that's what's most interesting about Erin, is that you see her really on camera trying to decide what to say, and that's actually very interesting to watch her that way.
Yeah. Did you guys have anything else before we move on? Cool. I just want to take a moment to let our listeners know you can find us on both YouTube and your podcast platform of choice. So be sure to go and subscribe, leave a comment wherever you can. That helps us out a ton. My soundboard is so slow. I need to really get on these, but here's dropping oh shit.
Yeah. Do you have an air horn? Horn?
For sure I do.
Oh,
like that?
Like and subscribe. Yeah. I like and subscribe to that.
Big Daddy from Cincinnati.
Craig got tired of sitting on that button. He had to just drop it in somewhere.
Oh, you know what? Another line that I love from that show was maybe I'm mixing up the episodes where their husband's like breading chicken, and she's like, I have breasts that you can bread and batter me. I was like,
I don't think that was this week. Did I miss that?
Oh, that might have been. I don't know. I stayed up late watching a bunch of it.
Sounds familiar. I definitely saw it, but I don't know who said it.
Was that Jessel and Pavitt?
I remember.
Oh yeah,
being
that might have been
ew.
like a. I think Jessel might have seen like a flash forward or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I have breasts that you can bread them and batter me.
Yeah.
I just remember being like,
can you believe their sex life isn't amazing?
Yeah. Who would have guessed?
I want you to treat me like raw chicken and batter me.
Put me in a bag with breadcrumbs and shake it around.
I want you to rub this used fryer oil I got from the back of the KFC on my body.
Is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back?
All right, let's get into Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Stop it. Get some help.
All right, let's dive into Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Tim, do you want to give us a summary of what happened on this episode?
Salt Lake City! Yeah, in this episode, well, I gotta say, I felt bamboozled because I thought I was tuning into an episode of Salt Lake City, but guess what? They went to Beer Soap City, Milwaukee.
Yeah, they made all their Milwaukee dreams come true, as Heather said. I did not know I was supposed to have Milwaukee dreams. I've never had a Milwaukee dream, and now I feel like I've been missing out on that. Did you guys have Milwaukee dreams?
I think I had my first Milwaukee dream when I was like 14. I was told it's very normal. The women support Brittany. Lisa plans her own activities. Heather informs Whitney about the Prism rumors, jewelry scams, bus fights, curling. Sweep, sweep, sweep this show into my brain. And then, of course, vroom, Harley Davidson dining, followed by the reason they all went there, a drag show.
Are you drunk?
Okay, and what do you think the number one question that viewers were left with was?
The number one question, obviously, that viewers were left with after watching that show was, when am I gonna book my trip to Milwaukee? Well, for me, I was wondering, like, they didn't. I don't know is this is a newer franchise?
Season 5, so relatively.
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance. That's the biggest question that I think that I was left with was just like, are they gonna get it? Are they gonna get along?
Are they gonna make it after all?
Are they gonna make it after all? Are they gonna pull this thing off? They only have 10 days to raise $20,000 for the community center. Okay, I may have been watching the wrong show.
Let's talk about the artistic presentation. Dylan, what stood out to you here?
Well, right off the bat, starting with an extended Laverne and Shirley reference is great. I'm not even sure how many people are like familiar with Laverne and Shirley in the year 2024, so I'm not sure how well that's going to play. I mean, obviously I am. I have the 1977 Parker Brothers tie-in board game, but I think most like normal, well-adjusted people aren't like super into Laverne and Shirley in the present year. So I like swinging out with this like extended TV reference that's like 45 years old. That's cool. In terms of aesthetics, another scene that I really dug was Whitney going into Lisa's room to be like, we got to get ready to go out, and she's like surrounded by her makeup and hair artists,
yes.
with the lights in her face, and then just like big man's her and is like, I don't think I'm going to, and I just like that being presented in that way with her really producing this like star moment of being like you're in my trailer right now, and like I'm the queen, I'm the star, and I thought the aesthetics of that like played really well, and so that was like,
and there was like no music in that scene too. It really added to the tension.
Yeah. So that was like a really cool scene to have like Lisa getting that moment in and having like the way it all looks like really kind of play into her favor and really give us this whole like I'm getting ready and this is me presenting myself and you're walking into my self presentation. It
like
that just
a
played
PA
really well
or
for me.
something like that.
Yeah.
Way below me. Yeah.
Yeah. A line producer.
Yeah, like either hand me my skinny latte or get the fuck out of my trailer. When she's really just coming into her hotel room to say like, let's get going on the activity I planned for all of us.
Sandy, was there anything that stood out to you about how this was presented?
There was the one scene in the beer caves that Mary was at the head of the table, and I truly thought she had a halo around her head. It ended up being sunglasses, but she was at the head of the table with like old ancient brick behind her, and she was sort of doling out her weird wisdom that she's been on a roll with this season. And I thought that was a very compelling religious iconography moment for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
Agreed. Hardcore. The seating for that scene in the cave was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Tim, how about you?
What's her name again? The first time she tried Mary. The first time she tried beer. Awesome. I really love the employee of Miller Lite being like, I understand there's someone here that likes champagne. Mary's like, uh-huh. And then it cuts to this scene where Mary's like, yeah, there was a major heat wave in 63 or whatever, and 53 people died. Best year for champagne.
Yeah.
The grapes thrived. People died.
So great that's apparently Mary's first time drinking beer.
And he's like, this is the champagne of beers. And it's like her first time hearing that.
Yeah, she does not realize he's making a joke about their marketing slogan. She's like, really? Yeah. This is the best beer in the world? Oh, I can see why. Yeah, it's delicious.
And then, she drinks it. She's like, I didn't know beer could be so...
I think she says high end. Yeah,
high end.
I didn't even know there was high end beer. She even when they do the confessional, she's still apparently under the impression that she drank like expensive high end classy beer and does not realize that it's just like a grocery store shelf staple that just happens to have that marketing slogan. I love that.
Yeah, it's the choice for divorce dads everywhere.
I will say though, Miller High Life is an awesome beer. So as much as I want to as much as I want to make fun of them, like doing a tasting for like an extremely basic American piss lager. Right. That's the best basic American piss lager. It's the best one. Yeah. It is a good beer. It's a very good beer.
And I can imagine like having it there where they make it would taste phenomenal. Like it probably did taste really, really good, but still beer.
Yeah, Miller Genuine Draft, terrible, but Miller High Life, really good. Great, like the ideal American Pilsner. So, Mary was right. She loves beer now. And apparently beer loves her too, because she was in unexpectedly good spirits there. She was like, she has one sip of beer and suddenly like the woman who never likes anything is like, well, this is fun. This is great. Yeah. Wow. This tastes really nice. Like, who is this person? What? You should drink beer more often. Why are you not complaining about everything and hating everybody?
Speaking of unexpectedly good spirits, this is good beer.
In terms of like the presentation on this episode, the one scene that really stood out to me was the Sprinter van fight that we got. I just love how it was covered in this blue light where everything was, it almost felt like it was just monochromatic, except for through the windows where there was all sorts of like the city lights were in bright, vibrant colors. And then there's this deep blue that was cast over the whole van. I just love this feeling of this fight taking over the entire van and Whitney like really exerting her emotions on the rest of the cast here. I just thought that this was a really lovely aesthetic for this to be like physically happening, where she's actually taking her anger and her sadness out on everyone and imposing it on people while everyone is covered in this blue. I really loved it, and it looked really interesting. Like this is a an aesthetic that really stands out apart from what we're used to seeing even in Sprinter vans, where they're very constrained in terms of how they shoot these.
That's true.
Let's get a quote. Tim, did you have a quote here that stood out to you?
No. I thought I wrote down a quote for this episode, but I didn't. My bad. Nothing's coming. Nothing's coming to mind. You know what? Honestly, like maybe it's just a more of a physical thing that really was the quote kind of for me, and it was Mary at the end of the table when they're having the fight, and the whole time Mary's just like, "You're making a mountain out of nothing. Or you're making, and it's just her eyes kind of going side to side."
Yeah.
The fight with Whitney.
And then she tries to cap it off by saying, "You're both very emotional and you both love each other." And everybody kind of looks at her like, "What are you talking about?" But that's just Mary on beer. Mary on beer is not following the plot, but she's oddly content. So I love Mary on beer.
Mary on that high life.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like this was an episode that had a lot of quotes that were really good or really stood out. I'm going to let some of you guys take a shot. Was there anything that stood out to you, Sandy, in terms of quotes?
I just wrote the last part of it down. It was Mary's second monologue of the season about Jeffrey Dahmer, which ended with, "And they were cooked."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love how she, even afterwards, ends up saying, like, "Also, my dad lied a lot." Okay, this is the second time you've told this story.
And I love how they went into that scene. They went into that scene ready for a ghost story from two very awkward bartenders, and we didn't even get that. I don't even know if they ended up even telling it, because as the cast said, Mary really outshone them, anything they could ever have said.
Yeah, we didn't get the story. Dylan, how about you?
I like when Whitney's trying to defend her business decisions and she uses the phrase, "That's called commerce." Like, I just thought that was a funny way to defend it. Like, try to bamboozle us with your high-tech industry terms. Commerce. So I don't know what she meant by that. And then I liked how right after that, she's like, "Yeah, like, that's how it works. Do you think Meredith is actually diving for her own caviar?" Like, no, I don't think she is, because I don't think anybody's diving for caviar. I don't think that's how you get caviar. I don't think you dive for it. That's not, you don't scrape it off the ocean floor. Where do you think it comes from?
Everybody knows you take a fish and you go whack, whack, whack. You ring it out like a wet
I think that's more or less how it works. Honestly, I think that's more or less how it works. I was surprised to find out that you don't actually kill the fish. I think you can literally kind of milk it. You squirt it.
You milk it. You milk it.
Yeah, you milk a sturgeon. Yeah.
It's just like chickens lay eggs. Fish lay. Yeah, everyone knows that. And we've all done it. Oh, that's right. Thanksgiving is coming up. Don't forget to milk your sturgeon.
Who among us has not milked the surgeon?
If you live in a house made out of sturgeon milk, you should not. Whatever.
I really liked a lot of quotes here. Like I said, I think the quote that we got from Brittany, where she's talking about what what's his name, Jared did, with being treasonous, and Lisa being like, "Yeah, that's the perfect word for it, treasonous."
Isn't the perfect word for it? He's committed crimes against the state. Has he?
But we did get another example of people using geography as a class marker in this that I really stood out to me. And this time they're talking about Osmond Lane being like, this address that you want to have, and you want to live on Osmond Lane because because of what it means in Utah. I thought it was really funny.
I love how they talk about the Osmonds like they're the Kennedys in their world. It's so funny that like they're like Brahmin, like they're like most high class, highest social capital family is like these dorks who had like a variety show on TV in the 70s, like the 70s. That's what they aspire to. That's so great. That's such a great little glimpse into Salt Lake City Mormon life.
If Winnipeg was like, oh yeah, did you grow up on Burton Cummings Lane? Oh my god.
Yeah.
The new guy I've been seeing, he's a Cummings. Yeah.
People there make over $100,000 a year.
Let's talk strategy here, because I think this is a rich. Oh, sorry, Tim. Did you have another point?
Not really. This would be kind of a double back thing. I just kind of want to defend Whitney a little bit in her comment about it being commerce, because like if you're running a jewelry brand, you're not making all the jewelry yourself. You don't have like a factory where you're jewelry making. You're buying from suppliers and artists who make jewelry in bulk. So if she lists that jewelry she got in bulk from somebody to distribute at a marked up cost, which is, baby, that's commerce.
Yeah.
And then somebody else also buys from that supplier and then sells it on Alibaba for less because they get it more directly from that supplier. That doesn't necessarily mean, Whitney's doing shady business there.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
When it costs like 10 times as much on her website as it does on fucking Alibaba.com, doesn't it mean she's being shady?
Well, you go to a freaking hockey game and you get a bottle of Dasani water. I'm paying $10 for that thing. I know that doesn't cost $10.
It's funny because as this was going down, I needed to like really reflect on myself, because I'm such a huge Whitney fan, because like my immediately like my gut reaction was like, oh, she's such a mastermind. She set up this fake business in order to have a scandal that played out. I'm just like, got the yarn on the board, like piecing it together. I would not put it past her to set up this fake business in order to give the show what it needs. I think she brings so much to the show.
That's great.
But yeah, no.
She did kick it off in the... and she was kind of the orchestrator of this whole episode, right? She planned the events. There was a splinter off from her group, which created nice drama. And then she fired off. She fired the first shots in confined space. That's nice.
Let's talk about strategy, because I think there's a lot to think about in terms of Whitney. Lisa's another person that I think there's a lot of strategy to consider here surrounding her. Dylan, do you want to lead us off with what stood out to you?
Yeah, Lisa's the one whose strategy I like the most in this episode. It's really entertaining to me after she like summons Whitney into that scene I just mentioned to say that she's probably not going to go at her event, and then does a break off with like the two newbies, and then just forces everybody else to talk about why she's doing that, what she's doing, forces Whitney and Angie to like talk to Meredith and be like, did you talk about like what we were saying about Lisa to Lisa? The fact that Meredith and Lisa have like a secret summit at the start of the episode to discuss this way that like, Angie and Whitney tried to turn Meredith against Lisa, and instead Meredith just went right back around and had a summit with Lisa instead. And the way that Lisa makes everybody talk about her by going off on doing a different event with two newbies is gold. That I thought that was great, because everybody's going to turn against each other in that van as we see happen, and everybody's going to be speculating about what Lisa's doing while she's not there to have to answer any questions. I thought that was awesome. And she goes curling.
That's interesting, because that decision I was a little unsure about when initially she decided she was not going to go, and the van started rolling and everyone was talking about why she wasn't there. I was like, this seems like it's a huge strategic misstep. Like
Big mistake.
There's a bunch of people talking about their potential beefs with Lisa, and she's not there to like make sure that the cards, when they reshuffle, if they reshuffle here, kind of fall in her favor. She's gone. People can kind of craft new alliances based on their mutual conflicts with Lisa, and she's not there to do anything about it. I thought that it was a strategic misstep, but we didn't really see much of a deck reshuffling here that happened. So I think that we did really, I think it did end up benefiting her. I'm not sure whether the like intent behind it was like, I don't think it was very well thought out, but it ended up being the right decision. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think by checking in with Meredith earlier, she feels that she's on like firm enough footing. Like if she's good with Meredith, then I think she feels like I don't really have to worry about people forming alliances against me. I think they will just like bicker amongst themselves in my absence. So I'd rather it goes down like that, and it does go down like that.
Yeah, you're right. Sandy, how about you? Anything stand out to you strategy-wise?
It was really the same point, and just building on that, I thought it was incredibly bold and like don't give any shits of her to go off with the two newbies. I thought that was a huge power move, because we talk about the alliances and like, you know, setting up who you're going to be in a faction with. And she's like, I don't care. I'm Lisa fucking Barlow. I'm going to take these newbies. And, you know, she only wanted one. And then she's like, and you're right here. You want to come too? She doesn't care. She knows she's the shit. And she's going to hold the group together, whatever new group she makes. And I just love that. And then they did something that was like, she clearly didn't really want to do curling at all, but she was like, I just dislike these other women so much. We're doing curling today. I just loved it. I thought it was a great strategic move.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting that, you know, she clearly didn't have a plan for what to do, and curling was like, where can we film quickly? Like what can we lock down filming for quickly? And it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna curl. That's scraping the bottom of the barrel here a little bit, but made me real happy.
Craig's like single tear rolling down.
Tim, what stood out to you in terms of strategy?
Yeah, a lot of interesting play here. Like this Lisa Barlow has to be like a Hall of Fame strategizer, right? It's just like how common is it on these shows for them to have so many different locations in one episode? Is this a special one because they're in Milwaukee that they're trying to feed? You know,
on a trip, it's not uncommon for them to basically be like, we're going to have two separate groups. We're going to split up into two groups based on some arbitrary line that is going to be good for like conflict or good for physical comedy or whatever. They'll divide it up and then they'll go off on their own separate activities. It seems clear to me that was not the intent here, because they obviously had sponsorship ties with the brewery and Harley Davidson, so they needed to make sure that they hit those spots, and they were going to do that with the full cast. But you know, Lisa calling the audible and going curling is something that they would be, you know, prepared for, but it would not have been within the plan.
Yeah. No, I thought the strategy from all the players here, especially the way Lisa, because it's about like screen time, right? Like the dinner fight at the end, the way Lisa was just kind of stoking the fire on Whitney, and then boom, it gets a big moment on screen, gets full volume finger pointing. Well done.
Yeah, I think one thing that's interesting to me about strategy is how Angie and Whitney approached Meredith, and, you know, what we got at the beginning where, you know, that secret summit between Meredith and Lisa, where Meredith is filling Lisa in. When she's kind of telling the story, when she's recounting what happened last night with Angie and Whitney's approach, the way that Meredith interprets it and tells it to Lisa, she clearly thinks that Whitney and Angie are trying to bring Meredith on side, like to bring her onto their team to fight with Lisa. But then when we get the clip, that was not what I was seeing. I saw them trying to just basically agitate. They were kind of giving Meredith this information to give back to Lisa in order to cause conflict. It didn't seem like they had any it didn't seem like they were trying to rope her in, but maybe that's like my interpretation. They were basically just like talking shit for the sake of, causing conflict with Lisa. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys, how you read that.
Yeah, for me, it definitely read as them trying to get Meredith on their side, but that was also the way it was framed. So maybe I just read it that way because it was like presented that way, like framed through the conversation that Meredith and Lisa have about it.
Okay, well let's get into our highlights. Dylan, what are your highlights?
I think we've pretty much covered everything I like. The beer cave dinner was great, really, really lots of fun there. The fact they go curling is really funny. Lisa gets to make some cracks in about this is the most sweeping I've ever done. It was there. Yeah, the different settings were like the Harley Museum was like maybe not as fun as the Miller Caves, but it was like just something different too. So yeah, I feel like we've kind of got over the strong points.
How about you, Tim?
That reminded me of a moment in the curling scene. I believe it was Angie, correct me if I'm wrong, who was like, I'm very comfortable on ice because I was a figure skater.
Oh, that's like melee or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's like, I quit just before trying out for the Junior Olympics. I just love
so
that.
Everybody quit before trying out for the Junior Olympics. It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. I gave up just shy of the Olympics, basically. Yeah. Squirts.
Also, like skating and sliding on ice, like curling ice, is very different. This is just like something that stuck out to me. Like it is not a transferable skill. What just happened on your screen, Tim?
I don't know. I didn't touch anything. Happy birthday to I got all these balloons in here now.
No, somebody hold him down.
Sivian up to. Where I finally kill that old man.
Sandy, what were your highlights?
We haven't talked yet about Brittany and Jared, and I'm really enjoying this saga so much. Like, you feel bad for the lady, but it's good TV. I really like it. His text back to her was pretty, brilliant manipulation. Like, it's just sort of really fun to watch her being spun in his web and, pretending that she's getting out, but for sure not. I love it. I don't know if I have much more to say than really enjoying that. Hope they stay together forever.
And I think they will. I feel like a lot
together
of us
in
probably
friendship.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us probably know somebody who's constantly breaking up with their partner, but never actually breaking up with their partner, and that really feels like what she's doing. And I kind of hope that that's her only storyline throughout the whole season. Is every episode she's breaking up with Jared, but not actually breaking up with him, and that just goes on forever.
And makes an announcement at dinner every time.
Telling everyone about her epiphany and about how they're not going to be together. I haven't told him yet. Also, I still love him. We're not going to be together.
The epiphany. Yeah. I woke up in the middle of last night. I had an epiphany. Don't worry. I cleaned it up. It's such a great. It would be a great just season long thing of just people constantly no, you gotta leave him. He's no good for you. We're back together. We love each other. That's great. You two should be together. Yeah, I support my friend.
Yeah, I really liked how, she's like, oh, last night you guys, like what you said, that really spoke to me. And Mary's just like, I didn't think you were listening at all. Like, I did not read this as like sitting with you.
Yeah.
I think that like Brittany was really interesting here. I think that once the temperature got turned up on that conversation, she did try to like do a redirect, and picking Bronwyn to try to like start a fight with, I think was, it seemed like a smart idea because Bronwyn is also new to the group, and you would think she doesn't have a good footing there, but Bronwyn is just like so strong. Like it seems like it is the wrong choice because Brittany just gets decimated by Bronwyn, in my opinion, in that exchange. I thought that Bronwyn handled that so well, and Brittany immediately felt like she was out of her depth in picking that fight. But I guess it did kind of work to redirect the conversation.
It felt like the lowest hanging fruit to redirect, being like, the new person whose husband is 26 years older than her, like I'll turn it around on you and this will be easy. But Bronwyn's clearly been like prepared for this the whole time. Like she's just been waiting for somebody to try to attack her over that. So you're right. It just didn't, like it wasn't going to really play in Brittany's favor.
Let's get into our stars. Dylan, who are your stars?
Lisa Barlow, number one. Great episode from her, doing some really great friendship fucking out there. Lots of fun. Her dissection of Jared's text was actually spot on too. Like she would like actually gave her a good read, and has really interesting strategies, and I just thought it was a great episode for her. I will give a second star to I guess, you know what, since we've been talking, no, it's got to be Mary. Yeah, give a second star to Mary. Mary was funny as hell. Keep drinking beer, Mary. Keep drinking the champagne of beers, living that high life. I'll give a third star to Bronwyn, if only because she shows up dressed as a literal hot dog and says, "It's couture." That's great. Yeah. I love that for Bronwyn. I love her wearing the stupidest couture outfits in the world, and it just like, how could it go further than her dressed up as a literal hot dog? We'll see. Let's see where else she brings her insane wardrobe.
How about you, Sandy?
Similar, I got to give to Lisa for her hard work, especially the final scene where she was talking about bringing me facts. She said that a few times, and I really like it. Powerful. And Mary as well, just always giving gems. And the third one goes to Brittany for her high effort in being interesting and trying to redirect and all of it. So, yeah.
Interesting. Actually, on the topic of Lisa, one thing that we didn't talk about, I do think that she did have a bit of a strategic misstep, and that was when she brought up Elektra, when she was talking about Angie and being like, oh, you always use Elektra as an excuse not to talk to me, like as though Angie shouldn't be tending to her daughter or whatever. Yeah. Like it was just the wrong thing to pick, and it seemed like a
I think
mistake.
that got misinterpreted, but you're right that it's a misstep, that she should have assumed it got misinterpreted, because I think so what she was trying to say is you're pretending Elektra's there when she's not actually there because you're just using any excuse to end the conversation, right? I don't think she was actually trying to say like, oh, you're always going to talk to Elektra. She was saying, no, you're pretending Elektra's in the next room because you want to hang up the phone. But you're right. It's like using just mentioning somebody's child. It's maybe not as extreme as New Jersey, but like just mentioning the existence of somebody else is often going to be turned against you.
Tim, who are your stars?
Well, I'm going to give the first star to Hot Dog Couture. Did we mention the hot dog outfit yet? And I love Mary's line.
Sandy mentioned it.
Oh, sorry, Sandy.
Or maybe it was Dylan that mentioned it.
I'm pretty sure I did, yeah.
Someone mentioned it.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
The hot dog outfit, that's a costume.
Daddy from Cincinnati. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I love that. I love, again, kind of going back to I found this line from Mary that I loved about, she goes, ding, ding, ding. I have an announcement to make. Jared and I was it Jared? Jared and I are getting back together. And Mary's like, yeah, you know what? Give it 5 minutes. They're going to be back in love. Oh, my 5 minutes back.
Yeah.
I want my 5 minutes back.
I think there's one big omission here from the stars list. It has to be Whitney. Like, she was a pivot point on these like conflicts with Lisa. So, yeah. And the fact that we also saw her picking and choosing when to use the information that Heather gave her about the scandal regarding her business.
Right.
I think that she needed to be on there. She's not my number one. I think number one has to go to Lisa, but Whitney is going to be my number two. We talked a lot about Lisa, so I won't retread that water. And yeah, I think that Brittany does deserve a star. I want to give one to Mary, but Brittany is just a hot mess, and it's compelling to watch. So she's getting the star for me. Did any of you guys have any go backs before we close this out?
Oh, it was a 2003 Dom Perignon.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. Let's go around. Tim, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me online. Find me online, everybody. Find me on the internet. Tim Gray rules at most places with his head.
Sandy, how about you?
I am at Corporeal Curios on Instagram, or just look up my name.
Dylan?
For spooky season, I recommend everybody listen to my horror movie podcast, Mind Over Splatter, because it's about horror movies.
All right, I'm Craig Midwinter. Add me on chess.com. You can probably beat me. I am very bad. Craig J. Midwinter, chess.com. You can find our podcast, bravooutsider.com. We're on Instagram and TikTok, at Bravo Outsider. Look us up on YouTube, subscribe, do all of that stuff.
You can find me on Board Game Geeks as well. I often write about board games there. This game is actually really bad, by the way. It's a terrible, terrible game.
The Laverne and Shirley board game.
We should play it over live stream or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Bonus episode.
Bonus.
Yeah. Until next week, keep on wifing.